I'm Kat.
And I'm Cass.
And you're listening to
Two Book Bitches. Did you forget to do that?
Okay, restart. Restart. I was like, but why did you stop on bitches? And then I was like, oh, right, I was supposed to say it.
Okay, wait, hold on. Let me get, okay.
Pepper, no.
I'm petting you.
Okay, ready?
Mm-hmm.
I'm Kat.
And I'm Cass.
And you're listening to
Two Book Bitches. What's up?
Welcome back, everyone.
We are back. What's going on?
I feel like there's a lot that's happened in the book worlds recently.
Yes.
So many book releases.
So many book releases. And like we low-key film these out of order. So like sometimes I have to remember like when an episode is coming out. You know what I mean?
Because by the time you guys get to actually watch this episode, it's like
like when is
a
it?
couple weeks from when we're actually filming
Exactly.
it. So as of right now, we're just getting over like finishing reading Iron Flame.
Yes. So like as of today, Iron Flame came out like a week ago, basically.
Yes.
Almost exactly a week ago.
Yes.
We have both since finished.
And we have many thoughts on it.
Many thoughts, many thinking thoughts.
But we're gonna save it. For our episode, which actually we have 2 episodes dedicated to Iron Flame.
Yeah, we're gonna split it just so we can get a little more time. And the first one actually
comes out next week.
Yes, at the time of you listening to this.
Yes, for you it will be next week.
Yeah, for us.
For us, it's
we haven't even filmed it yet.
But
I'm excited for that one.
Yeah, that will be.
I think
fun.
It's gonna be good.
I also read Check and Mate by Ali
Hazelwood.
That was her newest book release.
Yeah, I'm like 1 or 2 chapters in.
It was very good. I enjoyed it.
It's really cute.
I do. I like that the whole chess thing.
I know, it's giving like Queen's Gambit.
It really is giving Queen's Gambit.
Do you remember when we all got obsessed with Queen's Gambit and like chess?
Everyone just was obsessed with chess for a little bit there after Queen's Gambit.
And I mean, to be fair, like my husband, like Thomas, he loves chess. Like even pre-Queen's Gambit. Like he enjoyed chess. Like he watches like chess videos on YouTube. Like he watches like Magnus Carlsen and all this like bullshit. But I only became obsessed with chess when Anya Taylor-Joy was obsessed with chess. And it was great.
You know, I used to play chess a lot when I was a kid. Like I was forced to be on the chess team in like elementary school. But I was never like good at it. Like I can play, but like I think that like some of these like amazing chess players, their just minds just work differently. Like they can see the whole game at like play out.
There's a little and
they have like the board memorized because they go like A4.
Yeah, like knight to
like
B3.
Knight to, yeah, like you know, like the scene in Harry Potter.
Once I make my move.
Yeah, like but
you're
for me,
free.
If you tell me like knight to A3, unless I'm looking at a board where it's numbered,
I don't know.
I don't know that.
Yeah, I feel like you definitely have to have like a level of finesse to play chess well. Like I can play chess. Like I know how to play chess. I know some of the openings. Like I know like whatever. But like I'm not a good chess player because I can't like I don't know. I just don't think like that. I'm sure I could learn if I tried.
Well, it's just one of those things that like you can be good if you play it a lot and you study it and you practice it. But there's just some people whose brains
operate differently.
Like it does. It's not even like really trying for them. It's just like it clicks.
They're like, I got that. It's like that scene where she like looks up and she's like do and she sees all like the chess pieces or whatever. Yeah, that's a good book. I'm also planning on reading Murtaugh. I would imagine by the time you listen to this, I'll be done it.
It's kind of interesting that like that had the same release date as like Iron Flame.
Yes.
And it like completely flew under the radar because of the hype of the release of Iron Flame.
Well, I think there was a lot of books that got released on November 7th that I think got entirely overshadowed.
And I mean, like, I'm also just like wondering why they would do that though. Like why they would have so many books on one day instead of spread it out. Like what's
there
special
must
about
be a reason.
November 7th?
You know how like certain movies have to come out by a certain time to be like considered for the Oscars?
I know, but like there's still a risk, for example, when a movie comes out on the same day as another popular movie. In fact, if you remember, I think
Mission Impossible was supposed to come out on the same day as Barbie.
Yes, that was what I was about to say. Like
Barbie and Oppenheimer.
Mission Impossible moved their release date because they were like, "There's no way we're going to compete with Barbie."
or
which
like Barbenheimer.
Rightly so. But like there are certain movies that like avoid like being released on the same day as another movie because they know there's just no way they're going to compete.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't really know why that day was so popular because I literally think like fucking everyone and their mother released a book that day.
No, literally.
Like Alex Astor, Christopher Paolini, Ali Hazelwood, Rebecca Yarros, amongst like many others. Like there were so many. I went to Indigo the day after because Kat actually went to pick up my copy of Iron Flame because we wanted to make sure we got the black sprayed edges and like they only have a limited amount of like.
Which I think is a lie, but that's...
Me too,
that's
because
fine.
I went the next day.
They had so many.
They had so many fucking copies.
Yeah.
And mind you,
it was all for this pre-sale thing, but like I don't think there was any chance of them running out of the black sprayed edges.
And mind you, like we live in a big city. Like we don't live in like a small town, like whatever. Like we live in a big city. There's like 6 million people in like the greater Toronto area. You know what I mean? So it's... I was surprised at the amount left. So I don't know if they were just trying to like drum up hype for like a pre-sale, which I mean,
but I was kind of nervous because then I heard that they were running out of the black sprayed edges, and I wasn't I wasn't a person who pre-ordered the book.
Yeah, me neither.
This is my gripe with pre-ordering. I like to go to a store to buy the book because I get very upset if I get a book delivered to me and it's already damaged.
Well, that was a big issue with this book release, and I mean, we'll talk about it more. And
day. But I don't like. So for me, I literally will go to a bookstore.
Oh my god, she spends
and I will check every copy that they 100%. Have to make sure that I get the least damaged one.
She will literally sit there like. Take off the cover, put the cover back on, like look at the like I'm not that much of a stickler. Like if there's like a dent in the book, like whatever, I don't give a fuck, I'll take it. Like I don't like rips, I don't like big like, you know, jarring.
Well, see, because I've bought books online and they've come like I've gotten one that came so damaged I was like, I'm never buying book online ever again. And I literally went into the store and I was like, you need to get me a new copy of this because this is so damaged.
They did give it to you though, right?
They did. But still, like, so I don't like pre-ordering books for that reason because then I'm stuck with this damaged book and they're harder. If you order them on Amazon, they're like, it's more of a hassle to have to return.
Especially on Amazon. I won't pre-order a book on Amazon. I also like, Amazon's so convenient, but like,
I know it is so convenient.
For the publishing world, like I really try not to order books on Amazon. Like I try to go in person, but then like even so, like it's not like there's a fuck ton of indie bookstores around us.
No, there really
otherwise
isn't.
Like I really would.
We mostly just have Indigo here.
That's it. So like I don't know, whatever.
But anyway, that's a little rant.
Any other like
more about Iron Flame later?
Yeah. Any more like book news? Oh, this is. I need to make a correction.
She's gonna redact something.
I need to redact something that I said in a previous episode. I did talk about the Hulu ACOTAR adaptation, and I made the statement that like Hulu had, you know, and ACOTAR had parted ways. Like it was up for, you know, grabs again. Blah blah blah. That is not the case.
Yeah, they still have the rights to it, and I saw some statement like they're trying to make it work or something.
I saw something they were in like the casting stages or something like that.
I don't buy it.
Or like the big thing right now that they're trying to like work on is the main 3 characters for season 1. So I don't know if that means Feyre Tamlin Lucian or Feyre Tamlin Rhys, because technically Lucian's a bigger part in the first book than Rhys is.
But Rhys comes in to have a big part
at the end,
like the last third of the book.
I know, so I don't know. I feel like they probably mean Rhys just because, you know, there's more longevity to his character in terms of being like a main character.
I'm still a bit concerned that Hulu has the rights.
I watched a Hulu show. Like, what's a Hulu show? Like, give me like a
Hulu. So when I think of Hulu, like there's somewhat overlap between Hulu shows and like Disney Plus.
Like I need to Google this. Like what?
Like
what?
They're almost, you know how like Disney Plus has like stars on it, just like the adult shows and stuff.
Yeah,
more adult content. So Hulu.
Oh, okay. Here we go.
Like I don't know.
Okay, so the
issue is a lot of the times Hulu we don't have access to as Canadians.
Right. Yeah, that's true. Okay, so actually, you know what? Hulu has some good shows. They've got Handmaid's Tale, American Horror Stories, which I watch.
Okay, but I don't think that
they do Only Murders in the Building.
Right, which is like a Disney Plus.
Okay, they do The Bear.
Okay, but you know what you're saying right now? You're actually talking about shows that are owned by Fox that technically Disney owns.
Oh.
Like the Bear, I'm pretty sure is Fox. American Horror Stories was 100% Fox.
So they got bought out.
Well, Fox is owned by Disney now. Like, but I'm pretty sure the Bear is like. Maybe I'm making things up.
No, see, it has A Court of Thorns and Roses listed in development here. Mad Adam. Oh my God, is that by Margaret Atwood? No way. Wait, that's kind of fun.
So yeah, we get access to some Hulu shows through Disney Plus, but we don't have access to all of them.
Yeah, we don't. But it looks like they've got quite a couple shows in development. A couple Margaret Atwood series they've got in development.
Either way.
Yeah.
Like
redacted I said that.
I'm interested to see how it plays out with Hulu.
Me too.
And like if it's good. Like that's obviously the main
I'm
thing.
really crossing my fingers because I feel like if this doesn't do well, it's just going to be one of those things where it's like, see, like book shows don't do well, blah, blah. Ugh.
Well, because there are, to be fair, as many success stories as there are when it comes to books.
There's also like failures.
There's a lot of failures. Like think about
the Shadowhunter series.
That has had 2 adaptations now, and both times just did not work.
I like the cast for the movie better, but...
Well, I think that even Cassandra Clare mentioned that she liked the cast better. Like, who she pictured the characters looking, she liked more in the movie.
That's actually crazy that, like, imagine, like, hearing that as an actor on the series be like, oh, shit, the creator of this entire, like...
But, I mean, it's not technically your fault. Like, you know, like, it's whoever casted you, you know what I mean? Like, but that's an example that failed. Vampire Academy is another one that failed, like, twice now.
Oh, my God, yeah.
There's so many ones that just, like, don't work out.
Just tanked.
Yeah. Like, it just goes to show you that, like, there can still be a fandom for something and it still not do well.
Yeah, because I also feel like book fandoms in particular are quite, like, rabid. Like, we have very clear, concise images of what we think these characters look like, how we think they should behave, what's considered important, not important to put on a screen adaptation. So when something doesn't hold true to that image you have in your head, I think, like, book readers will, like, be like, I'm not fucking watching that because it doesn't match the picture that I had. So I think that's why, like, personally, in my opinion, it's quite important for producers to stick as closely as possible to the source material that they have. I think that that's the best way of, like, keeping viewers interested and, like, bringing over the book fandom to, like, the TV world, in my opinion.
Listen, like, I'm totally aware that, like, little changes happen here and there.
And, of course.
Like, at the end of the day, I don't remember every little detail that happens in a book anyway.
No,
so, like,
me
chances
neither.
are that if you change something, like, minuscule, I'm not going to notice.
But
like,
I'll notice the big things.
Obviously, yeah.
I
like
will
the major
notice.
plot points. But I think that a lot of the times, well, not even, like, I don't know. Sometimes, like, they do stick to the book and it just doesn't work either.
That's true. Not every book, and that also goes to show, not every book is meant to be on the screen, which I think is people's concern with ACOTAR as well. People are like, is this a book that's meant to be put on screen? I personally think so.
I want to see it. I actually think it would be cool as an anime.
Me too.
Like, I've seen some of these, like, amazing artists draw, like, little clips or, like, little photos of what, like, an anime would look like.
It looks amazing.
And I think it's amazing. And I'm like, you know what? That would honestly get around the fact that, like, no matter who you cast, people are gonna think have some kind of feelings about it.
Also, can we create a position of, like, I don't know, like, fandom liaison or something like that, where it's like you gotta hire a fan of the book series to, like, be on the production team of the show or, like, movie?
Well, see, I personally believe that if the, like, author has a lot to do with the show and isn't just like, you know, I bought the rights, we don't need you anymore.
Yeah, like, do what you want.
No, because there are some productions that, like, once the rights are bought for the, like, the show, like they buy the rights to the movie.
Yeah.
They don't really consult the author.
Well, it's like Percy Jackson. I think the first movie, like, Rick, the author, says that he didn't really like the movie adaptation. He says he didn't really have much to do with it. Whereas this time around, he has a lot to do. He has a lot to do with the show, and he's very proud of it. Like, I think that if an author is proud of the show that their work is based off of, I think that will show. I think so too.
In the TV show.
Yeah, and I think that Sarah J. Maas, like I heard one of the rumors why this is taking so long is because she's very particular in the writer's room, in the casting and whatever. And I think she should be. Like, this is her intellectual property. I think that she should care and be picky. So I'm happy to wait for it to be done well. And I will watch it whenever it comes out, no matter how old I am. I don't care.
Well, I don't think we're going to get it for like at least 3 years, honestly.
That's totally fine. If I have kids, I'm going to be like, shut up. Mommy is busy. Mommy's watching Avatar right now. Go bother your father.
I'm just curious to see how long it will really take for us to see it come to fruition.
I think a while. I think we're going to be
like even this fourth wing thing. Like how long is that going to take?
I think
like
it's
that
I'm
very curious for as well.
You are going to be waiting for a while, I think. That's why I sometimes don't even like when they announce this shit early, because then it leaves too much time for like speculation.
Like personally, I'm glad that it's Amazon that bought Fourth Wing, because I tend to like Amazon series. Like Prime TV shows, their adaptations from like their source materials thus far that I've seen has been pretty good. So I've been pretty content with like their adaptations. So I'm glad that Amazon bought the rights to Fourth Wing. I feel like the only other network that I would have no like issues with
HBO, baby.
HBO/Crave for us.
Yeah. Because we see HBO and Crave.
Yeah, so that would be the only other one where I'd be like, hey, like, I'm sure it's going to be good. But, Hulu worries me a little.
Yeah.
Just a little.
Just
because, like, I don't think they have, like, a high fantasy, like, any kind of fantasy show as
I
don't
think so either. I was looking at their list. It's a lot of, like, comedy, drama, reality, but I don't think there's,
Crave
like, fantasy.
Can do it. They've done Game of Thrones, or /HBO, whatever.
Yeah.
They've done Game of Thrones. They have House of the Dragon. Like, they've done it before.
Yeah.
Like,
and then Amazon Prime has done
Lord of the Rings adaptation.
Which I don't think did well... like, but I mean visually
it was
and like the budgeting and it looked amazing.
They have the money for it. Like,
I thought it was a good series.
So I know that those two networks are capable of it.
Yeah.
Like Hulu, like I don't know. That's what makes me nervous.
Yeah, but I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt. I'll wait until casting.
Yeah,
we'll just wait and see, guys. We'll just wait. We have to wait and see. I mean, kind of speaking on like casting different adaptations, the graphic audio.
Yeah, so like we're reading like or listen reread / like re-listen, I guess, if you will, to like the graphic audio of like ACOTAR right now. I'm doing that. Like you're also...
I've been doing that.
I know, but I'm more new to it.
Yeah.
I'm late to the game, but it's amazing. Love it.
I literally used to bug the shit out of her. I'd be like, Kat, you have to. And she's like, yeah. And then
you know what? It's like at first I was like, I can't listen to these voices. It's not how I pictured the voices.
Yeah.
But then I saw some clips of it on TikTok and I was like, wait, maybe these voices are actually like growing on me.
You literally get used to it. I feel like when you first listen, you're so taken aback because like you've just been reading this on page, and then to have a full voice cast, you're like, what the fuck is going on? It takes like a sec to get into it, but I think it is an amazing way to listen to a book. I wish that every fucking book was narrated like this. I love the full cast.
I like the different voices. Like it's really cool.
Me too.
So like I'm obsessed with that. That's what I'm...
What are you on?
I'm on part 2 of ACOWAR.
Okay. I'm on part 2 of A Court of Silver Flames.
Yeah. So, and I mean, obviously I'm doing it too a little bit because we have like an ACOTAR / Crescent City Theories episode like that comes out in January, like right before the release of Crescent City 3. So like while I'm re-listening to these books, I'm like picking things up that I totally like
so many
glossed
things
over, and I'm like making notes, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's totally going to come into play into CC3 and all that.
Yeah.
So I'm excited for that episode too.
Me too.
Where we talk about like our theories for like what's going to happen. Because there's so many things that like don't really like things that are mentioned in
didn't really
like Silver Flames or like ACOWAR that like
Silver Flames especially
that don't really have a purpose at the time but still seem relevant.
Yeah.
So
I'm excited.
Yeah, that will be
good.
Cool.
No, listening to it is really cool. I thoroughly enjoy. And you've also finished House of Sky and Breath at this point, right?
At this point, officially. I've officially finished reading it.
At the day of recording.
I've finished reading it like a couple weeks ago now, I think.
Right.
Maybe even more. And like obviously now that I'm finishing it, like I ended up loving it.
I was gonna say you liked it, right?
Yeah, it definitely, like the whole book as a whole, definitely I would say lagged at times for sure. But
it's a massive book. It's bound to like.
I think that like the last 200 to 300 pages, like I was totally hooked, and like I just had to finish
Yeah.
And like find out what happens.
That's also very reminiscent of like Crescent City 1 for me too. Like I remember the last little bit of the book. It was just like boom, 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 boom.
I was a bit more like hooked the entire time though on that one.
Fair.
Whereas this one, there was just a little bit of a middle part where I was just like not that interested.
Yeah.
And I was kind of like, get to the point, you know? But
you're like, fine. Let's get it going.
It's fine. But anyways, since we're talking about House of Sky and Breath,
yes,
like, that is what we're doing today.
Correct.
We're doing chapters 48 to 56.
Yes.
Which is like officially part 3 of the book, which is The Pit.
Yeah. So spoilers ahead. If you haven't read, turn back now.
Or don't.
Because we're 9 moms. And we can't tell you what to do. So where did we leave off, Kat?
Yeah, so last time we were talking about House of Sky and Breath, we left off with like the gang in the submarine thingy after they had just been rescued from like the Hind.
Yeah.
And we find out that Sophie is basically like dead. Like,
right.
She's definitely dead.
So at this point, are we still in the submarine? Because I was
like when we left off.
We left off. Okay, now they're not in the submarine.
Right.
Now they're not.
Now they're all gone. Like they
got you. Okay, I was like, wait, are we still in the submarine?
No. Like,
okay, because I was like in Bryce's apartment, and I'm like, are we not in Bryce's apartment?
Well, now they went back to Bryce's apartment.
So they're all off the submarine.
Yes,
they're done. So we're in Bryce's apartment, as per usual. As per always, we're always there. And unfortunately find out that like Declan's search for the letters and numbers on Sophie's arm didn't turn up anything. If you remember, there was like, I think like on her arm, like there was like a series of
carved thing into her.
So. Yeah. And they can't figure out what it is. And his search doesn't yield anything. Some good news though, nothing is playing on the news about the shit that went down on the island. So as far as like the gang is concerned, like the Hind hasn't tattled. No one's really said anything. No one's calling to be like, you dead. Like, it's all pretty like hush-hush still. So at least that's a good thing. At the moment, Bryce is trying to figure out how she can teleport and how she like can only manage to do it during sex. Like, because she's been trying to like do this teleportation thing for a while and it just hasn't worked. And the one time she did it was when she was having sex with Hunt. Hunt pops in the room and says, like, not only does the news not say anything, like, Isaiah hasn't mentioned anything about Idra either. Like, Isaiah hasn't mentioned a thing. But he is concerned that the Hind is just letting them make their next move because she's curious about their plans. He's like, maybe she's just, like, letting us do our thing so she can, like, follow us and, like, figure out what we're up to, which would not be good. They're also wondering about how, like, all of this, like, in an overall sense connects, like, Danica's research, Sophie's intel, etc. And, like, same, to be honest. They keep, like, there's all these, like, plot threads that are, like, being plucked out of everywhere. And, like, we really don't know how they connect because I think he mentions here, like, Danica died, like, 2 or 3 years before Sophie ever found the thing and like blah blah blah. So it's like, how the fuck does this all connect and why does Danica keep popping up everywhere? As they're like postulating, they get interrupted by Rune and Bastion announces that he wants in on whatever they're doing, and Hunt and Bryce are trying to play it off like really cool. They're like, oh, you know, we went to intercept Ophion and we couldn't tell anyone because like we suspect that there are rebel sympathizers in the 33rd. And Bastion is like, well, yeah, like I'm one of them. Of course there are rebel sympathizers. And he says it like so
like cash
and
He's
chill.
like, well, how did you not know that I was like on your side this whole time?
He was like, oh yeah, like of course there are rebel sympathizers. I am one of them. And everyone is still just trying to play it like really cool, blah blah. And eventually Bastion gets like fed up and he's like, whenever you want actual help and answers, come find me. And then he leaves because of course, like, you know, he's got all these secrets, all these things, and he's like not saying anything because I don't know, Hunt's not asking the right questions, whatever. Rune leaves shortly after, and then when Bryce and Hunt are finally alone, Bryce is like, ooh, like, let's like have sex, like let's blow off some steam, blah blah blah. And then he goes, how about you tell me what the fuck you know about Emil? Because apparently she sent him to the Viper Queen. Bryce sent Emil to the Viper Queen. Mind you, we're 48 chapters into this book.
This really, like, when I tell you I was so thrown off by this.
I got thoughts about this.
Like, I was very upset that we as the readers did not know that Bryce had been doing this whole time.
It just felt so out of, like,
it's just, I didn't even catch a whiff of it reading the other chapters. Like,
that's
leading up to it, I didn't get a clue that this is something that Bryce had been planning or that, you know, done at any point.
And Bryce had played it off like she was searching for Emil. They got themselves into so many tight situations because of this whole looking for Emil thing, when really, like, Bryce was faking it because she knew where he was the entire fucking time.
Yeah, so
I don't know.
Anyways, it kind of leaves it there, and then we switch to Rune, who, like, gets home, and Flynn, Declan, and Ethan surprise him with info that, like, 3 fire sprites and the dragon are now living with them.
Yeah, they're like, surprise.
And then it quickly switches back to Hunt and Bryce, who are in the meat market, and again, surprise, surprise, you find out that Bryce has known where Emil was for a very long time, and he happens to be with the Viper Queen. So then Bryce admits to Hunt that, like, she essentially hired the Viper Queen to track Emil down by any means necessary. So it wasn't like Pippa killing all those people to find Emil. It was the Viper Queen, which obviously Bryce didn't anticipate the Viper Queen doing. She's like, oh, well, I didn't mean for her to kill all those people. But, like, you hired the Viper Queen. Of course, that was what's going to happen. Yeah, like, she didn't know the Viper Queen was going to kill anyone. But, you know, I don't know. It was, again, like, this threw me. I was so confused. I was like, how did she just know this whole time where, like, Emil was? What? And a little bit of me realizes now that, like, clearly the narrator is, obviously it's third person, but it's a little bit of an unreliable narrator.
Right, because you're made to think that Bryce is also in the dark about this entire Emil situation, right?
So then if when we're for me, I'm thinking that when we're following these characters, we're getting, like, everything that's happening with them, because she switches a lot between point of view. So, like, when we're with this character, you kind of know everything that's happening with that character, which is clearly not the case.
Nope.
There's a lot that we're not being told. So, like, since this threw me for such a loop, I'm like, okay, what other loops you gonna throw at me this time?
I don't know. This was one of those, like, loops that I was really surprised by. I remember even the first time reading this book, I was like, it came so out of nowhere. I felt like I had been, like, punched in the face. I was like, wait, what?
Yes, like, because, like, at the very least, like, if you're not going to tell me that Bryce knew this, like, there should have been more hints to me that, like, that Bryce was doing maybe something.
It was not hinted at all.
And I mean, maybe it was, and we just completely missed it because we're two big idiots. Which, I mean, chances are that is possible. We can't
petition and change the podcast.
Two big idiots.
Two big idiots.
So we can't rule that out as an option. That we just
we literally can't.
Missed every single sign or clue that she did that she had in the book that pointed out that Bryce had been doing this whole time.
100%.
But, like, I like to think, I'm gonna give myself the benefit of it. I'm gonna give both of us the benefit of the doubt and say that there were no clues. So it was just so left field for me to find out that Bryce knew this entire time.
So left field, because
I was shocked.
They were consistently doing things to look for Emil, and Bryce was participating.
Yeah, and then and that's the thing too. Hunt is like, well, what about this time? Well, what about this time? And she has, like, an excuse. She's like, oh, well, the last time we were at the meat market, like, I was going to talk to her, but she didn't have him yet. And then, and then I wanted to make everyone think that I had already looked here and he wasn't here, so that no one would come look here.
And they got themselves into so many pickles because of this.
Yeah, and then she's like, well, when the Viper Queen couldn't find him, I had to go check the bone quarter just in case. And I'm like, girly, what?
Did not enjoy
all this stuff was unnecessary this whole time. The
well,
Viper Queen
and
has
then
been
now, like, the Viper Queen is this, like, I don't know. She just seems like, how does she have this much power? Like, is everyone this afraid of the Viper Queen?
It seems like it.
Because even there's, like, another plot point with the Viper Queen coming up with, like, one of the rescuees, like the dragon shifter.
I don't really know.
And I'm just like, why is everyone so terrified of her?
We don't really know that much about her, if we're being honest. Like, we don't have a lot of, like, background information on her and what her purpose is.
Also, what does she look like to you?
I don't know. I don't picture her as anything, honestly.
You don't picture her as anything?
Like, I'm thinking, like, a very serpent looking
Because you want to know what I am picturing?
Okay.
Medusa.
No.
Like snakes for hair.
I was just going to say like more like serpent-like features.
Oh.
Not serpent hair.
Oh, I was thinking straight up Medusa.
No. Not
That's
for me.
probably not.
Like I was thinking like, you know, slit eyes and like little fangy teeth and
it's like Voldemort?
a little bit, but like attractive.
A hot Voldemort?
Because I think she's attractive.
Yeah, she's probably hot.
I don't know.
I don't know. I was picturing Medusa, forked tongue, like I was picturing the whole 9 yards. I was basically just picturing like
she has, and what is she, a serpent like tail? Like
yeah, like I was
doesn't
like
have legs.
yeah, like you know what?
She's just a snake.
Yes, she's basically Nagini. I was picturing Nagini.
Oh my gosh. No, that was not how I pictured her.
Okay.
At all. I pictured her kind of regular looking, but like maybe with some little
features here and there.
Yeah. Like she looks like a fae, but like some little
snake-like.
Serpentine snake-like features.
Okay. Cool.
That's kind of how I saw it.
It's not how I saw it.
Okay, well, is what it is, I guess. So Bryce is explaining to Hunt at this point, like, how she knew Emil was there this entire time. But Hunt, like, only clued into the fact that Bryce might know something when they were talking to Pippa, and Pippa, like, insinuated that she knew where Emil was, like, mentioning snakes and stuff, and Bryce was getting all tense, and he was like, oh, snakes. Obviously, that means the Viper Queen. Like, he put two and two together really fast. I didn't, but okay.
I did not.
Gloss that part over right in the book when
I was like, wait, what?
When she was talking to Pippa, but sure.
I literally had to look back at that part.
Yeah, I was like, what do you mean?
Like, I would not.
She mentioned snakes? Okay.
I was like, sure. All right.
That's why,
I trust
that's
you.
why we're not detectives, and
exactly.
Hunt is, I guess.
Exactly.
Hunt is understandably pissed that Bryce has been hiding this from him the entire time. I'm pissed that Bryce has been hiding this
100%. I'm upset
this entire time. So they go to see the Viper Queen, and they see Emil. They introduce themselves to Emil because she hasn't. While Emil has been at the Viper Queen for however long, Bryce has not met Emil yet.
Right.
Like, she hasn't gone to see him. So we also find out at this point that Emil doesn't have any powers.
Surprise.
And Bryce believes that Sophie spun a lie about Emil having powers so that people would view him as valuable, which means that people would, like, try to find Emil, but they wouldn't, like, try to kill him. Like, they would try to find him for his to be able to
and
use
like
his power,
keep him alive.
Yeah. Bryce tells Hunt that in return for the Viper Queen finding Emil, Bryce would owe her a future favor, which I think that is gonna come back to bite her in the ass.
100%.
Like, you owe this terrifying person,
the literal Viper Queen, a favor.
Like, that's not gonna work for you.
That's crazy.
Hunt then starts, like, asking Emil questions, and we find out that Emil was actually supposed to meet his sister in the meat market. So, like, that was where that was a place where weary souls find relief. That is the meat market.
Because of all the drugs?
Yeah, because it's like a big, like, it's like drug central. So he was supposed to go there anyways, but, you know,
sure, I
Sophie's, they do tell him that, like, well,
this is, like, one of those plot points where I'm just, like, not really happy with it, but I have to, like, accept it because, like,
well, they tell him that, like, so, like, your sister's dead.
Sorry.
Like, my condolences.
Like, his whole family.
I know, poor kid.
He's the only
but,
one.
Like, can we just, for a second, like,
Tell me.
Emil doesn't have any powers? Like, I'm not necessarily convinced about this.
I don't think so either, because then I'm kind of like,
what's his point?
Well, like,
no, see, for me, it's like, if he doesn't have any powers, like, he does, and, you know, like, he has no powers, for reals. Like, in the book,
like, for realsies.
For realsies, he has no power. Then, like, his character seems so irrelevant to me. And we wasted, like, 200 pages trying to find this kid. We literally could have saved this 800-page book, 200 pages. Could have scrapped 200 pages.
Well, I think his main purpose, I think, more so than anything, is, like, a plot device in a sense. Because, like, he was his sister's motivation, right? Like, she got roped into the rebels really only because of Emil, right? And then, like, Bryce's motivation to save him was because he was a kid and she felt bad for him, which is fine.
I still think it's so much time spent on this kid for him all of a sudden to just be a regular human,
or for him not to know something or, like, come into play
like,
in the future.
I don't know. I think that there's something
There'll probably be something.
I don't know what his role could be in the future, but I just feel like there's just no way he has no role.
I think he definitely has a role. I think we spend a lot of time with him. I would hope that he has some sort of like place in this like overarching plot.
I agree.
I hope so. Emil also like gives some more information. He explains that Danica found Sophie using her like scenting powers because she can scent like family lines or something like that. Is that what it is? Or power?
Yeah, she's a bloodhound.
Yeah. Okay, she can scent like family lines. Because she needed Sophie to do something for her. But Emil doesn't know what it was, and he also doesn't know what the letters and numbers on Sophie's arm mean. So he's like kind of in the dark. He's like, listen, I know they were in contact. I know that Danica needed her for something, but that's all the information I have. Then like Hunt kind of like pulls Bryce aside, and they're doing one of those things where they're like whisper arguing with each other. They're like, like, which is not really secret because everyone knows when you're whisper arguing. I love watching people whisper argue. It's my fave. And Hunt is kind of like, what the fuck are we gonna do with the kid? Like, oh my god, like we can't just like keep him. Like they're talking about him as if he's like a puppy. He's like, Bryce, you can't keep bringing strays home. Like,
your apartment is not that big.
I know. Like, we already have Syrinx. Like, what are we going to do? Bryce is like, don't worry. I've already figured that out. And she calls Fury. And to Fury, she's like, okay, like, bring the car around. And it turns out Fury is going to escort Emil to his new home. Fury pulls up. And as Emil is getting into the back seat, you find out that Bryce got all these like documents and adoption papers made for Emil's like name change adoption, blah, 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 because he is going to live with her parents. I actually thought this was quite sweet.
Yeah, I like this too.
I was like, oh, that's nice. So basically, he kind of gets the family that he lost. He gets like an older sister in Bryce, and he gets a mom and dad in Ember and Randall, which I thought was very sweet. And I wish the best for Emil, But I also want to see him come back into play plot-wise.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he's going to live with her parents. So Fury takes him and they're off. And then Bryce and Hunt kind of like part ways, and they're so like they're just frustrated and angry with each other.
They're pissy.
They're in a pissy mood. They're like, you know what? We need to walk it off, whatever. So Bryce is walking to work, and she gets a message from Rune to come over to his house immediately. And she does. She just like sends her boss like a text message like, ooh, like appointment's running late. Like, I'll see you soon. And then when she walks in, she sees the fire sprites and the dragon shifter that Ethan rescued. And Bryce is like, what in the absolute fuck is going on? Like, what have you guys done? She then asks the sprites if they knew Leaba, and they don't, which is sad, but they call her like an ally of their people for her friendship with Leaba and like what she did for Leaba. And they're all trying to like brainstorm ways to keep the rescued sprites and shifter, like pay for them, commandeer them for like a royal purpose, like that kind of stuff. But I think like the dragon shifter literally is like, honestly, you couldn't afford me, because she apparently was a gift from an archangel to the astronomer, which I was like, for why?
Maybe the archangel needed like something done, something looked into,
maybe,
and as like a thank you for helping me.
Here, a dragon
Here's
shifter.
a dragon.
That's actually crazy. Giving a person as a present, like that's wild.
It's
I think like also, did we already find out that the dragon's name is Ariadne?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So the dragon shifter's name is Ariadne. And then the dragon shifter's like, why are you helping me? Like, what is your purpose in trying to like free me from this like indentured servitude? Like, what's the reason? And Bryce explains her mate used to be a slave, and then all the boys are like, ooh, like mates, like they all kind of like, other than Rune, like the other boys didn't really know. And she's like, yep, mates, and his name is Hunt Athalar, and like Ariadne recognizes the name, and she says like they haven't met, but like she's heard of his like reputation, basically.
He's got a big reputation.
Ooh, you and me would be a big conversation. Oh my god, so Taylor Swift coded. And then Bryce is like, you know what? I gotta go. Ariadne, don't burn the place down. Boys, see you later. We're gonna figure this out. And she skedaddles. And on her way out, she calls Jessica and asks if Jessica knows the astronomer. And Jessica's like, oh, so you're the one who stole the rings. Because Jessica knows absolutely everything.
She has
like,
eyes and ears everywhere.
She's like the Dumois of like the
she knows all the gossip.
She knows all the gossip. She's like the Surreal.
Yeah, Kind of.
She's like the surreal.
She
Like
has all the tea.
She knows everything. She's got all the tea. She's like, oh my God, you're the one who stole the rings. That's crazy. So fun. So fresh. Why would you do that? Bryce is like, oh, like it wasn't me. It was like people I know. And Bryce is like, can you talk to the astronomer and maybe convince him to take money in exchange for the sprites and Ariadne? And Jessica's like, I'll try, but no promises. And now you owe me a favor. And Bryce like, honestly, get in fucking line. Like, I owe everyone favors these days. Like, I just hand that shit out like Oprah's handing out cars.
This is gonna really screw her over.
You shouldn't owe this many people
yeah,
these
like,
favors.
and not these sketchy people too.
Yeah, and they're not like cutesy little favors like, oh my God, you bought me lunch. Like, I'll
no,
get you
like
next
these
time.
are like sketchy people who are gonna call you up to be like, listen, I need something taken care of. I need you to bury this body for me,
and I need it done now.
Or I'll bury your body. You know
exactly,
what I mean?
100%. At work, there's an envelope on Bryce's desk, and it's like documentation, and they're from Jessica, mind you, so Jessica works fast. And it's talking about dragonfire. And it reveals that dragonfire is one of the few things to harm the princes of hell. I feel like that's a piece of information we should file away for later. That's
definitely going to be important.
So obviously there's no way now that they're going to let Ariadne go back to the astronomer. They're like, no, like she's staying with us.
Yes, we might need your fire.
Exactly.
At some point.
Exactly.
So now we're with Hunt, and he goes to work to see Celestina to ensure the lie that he was away at like Bryce's parents' house.
Oh yeah. They're trying to cover up like where they were when they were on Idra.
Yeah. And to make sure the Hind hasn't told the Archangel anything. And also the first thing that Celestina says to him, like when she sees him, is like, "Oh, congratulations, because from your scent, I can tell that you and Bryce have mated." And I'm like, can you imagine this? Like, sniff, like, oh, you guys have had sex. Like, I can smell it on you.
Oh my God, what's that smell? Oh, you fucked? Like, that's so crazy.
Yeah, so awkward.
That's so embarrassing. Imagine going to someone's house and them just being like, oh, that's why you were late?
But you know what, like, this just makes me wonder? What does this mating bond smell like to people? Like, does each mating bond have, like, a specific smell? Or do, like, you know, all mating bonds have the same smell?
Okay, so this is my thing, and I'm kind of ripping this from like other books in like the SJM universe. The way I interpret a mating bond smell is, for example, if we were mates,
okay,
you have a specific smell, right? Say you smell like vanilla.
Okay.
And I smell like brown sugar.
Okay.
Our mating bond would smell like vanilla brown sugar.
So it's just a mixture of your two scents.
I think so. That's what I think, because I also think like in Akasif, like Silver Flame, there was one part where like they had to mask Hunt really they are the same person. They had to mask Cassian and Nesta's smell because their scents were all over each other. That's how they had like described it.
So like you're telling me if Hunt smells like Centel 33
exactly,
and Bryce smells like Miss Dior
or Baccarat Rouge,
sure, their mating bond is like you put those two bottles 100%, together
100%, 100%.
Interesting.
If Hunt smells like lightning, those fucking smells like
smells like lightning and rain.
Lightning and the first rain of the spring season. What the absolute fadoodle?
I don't know.
Like, so if he smells like lightning and Bryce smells like sunshine, they smell like lightning, sunshine. That's what I think of mating scent.
Okay, that makes sense.
That's what I think. I think it's just like you have a distinct smell, your mate has a distinct smell, but now it's like some chemistry has altered within you and now your smells are kind of like combined. Still so embarrassing.
Yeah, it is just.
Can you imagine going to like your parents' house and then like.
It's still weird to be like, congratulations, I can smell you've had sex. Like, I don't know.
I don't like that.
It's weird.
It's very weird.
But anyways, she congratulates them.
What's your signature scent? Sorry, this is such a sidebar. Like, if you could pick, like, a thing to smell like. Not even necessarily, like, a perfume or something.
Just, like, just a smell?
Yeah, like, what would be your signature scent?
Like, freesias.
Oh, that's so cute.
Like, that's my favorite smell.
Yeah, freesias do smell really good. I actually love that.
You?
I either think, like peaches nectarine.
Okay, yeah, that's good.
Or I also like the smell of grapefruit.
Okay.
That's what I would want.
So if someone were to describe your smell in a book, you'd be like, she smelled like peaches and grapefruit.
Yeah, I want to smell delicious.
Yeah.
I want to smell delish, you know? Like, I want to smell edible.
Okay.
You know? That's what I would want to smell like. Personally, for me.
Anyways, back to Hunt and Celestina. She gives him some new reports on like demon activity, wanting to know if he thinks Hell is planning something, which obviously he does. But he's not going to tell her that because he's like, well, I can't tell you what I know. You know what I mean? Like,
do you know what I know? What you know? Everyone's keeping secrets.
It's like that scene in Friends.
Yeah. Do you know?
Do you know? I know something. Do you know something?
Do you know something?
Well, what do you know? Well, I can't tell you what I know.
I know that you know that we know that they know. Oh my God, rip Matthew Perry. Yeah, speaking of Friends. True. Oh my God. Literally so tragic. I feel so bad. Anyways. Oh my God.
Anyways, big sidebar. But after his meeting with Celestina, he goes to find the Hind. And he like point blank asks her what she plans on doing about what happened yesterday with the rebels when she caught them like fleeing the rebels essentially. But she actually pretends to have no idea what he's talking about.
She has amnesia.
She's like, I don't know what you're talking about. And this kind of leaves Hunt to wonder what game she's playing at.
This is sketchy.
Yeah. She does tell him, though, to go check out what the harpy did by the Angel's Gate. And when Hunt gets there, he finds like 2 rebel corpses that have been like blood eagled.
Do you know what that is?
Listen, I only know about this because I used to watch like Viking shows.
Oh, okay.
Like the Vikings. And it's like one of the forms of like torture in that
/ like execution, really. Yes. Because like it's not like you're being tortured and you're making it out alive. Like you're well, I mean, dead.
Well, yeah, but sometimes they start doing it before you're dead.
No, I know. They start when you're alive.
Yeah, so that is torture. But then you don't last long.
It's not cute. It's not good.
No, they basically like rip out your
ribs. They rip out your
ribs from the back and then make like wings with them. It's very gruesome. Like
it's super gruesome.
It's a very interesting thing to include in this book, honestly.
Yeah, I was like, this is. Well, I mean, to be fair, in the first book they added like crucifixion and shit. So like, she's not shying away from.
I know, that's true. But I just somehow this seems worse.
No, it does. I agree. And I mean, the harpy is like fucking batshit.
Yeah,
for
clearly.
Doing this.
Well, anyways, then that's gross. But
Disgusting.
We switch to Rune. It's just so interesting. Like you go from that scene to like here's a scene with Rune. Like it just.
I know. It's like, oh yeah, they were bloody gold. Yeah, and it's like
it's a really like
smoking
mirthwood. Like, yeah. So Rune gets the all clear call from Hunt, saying like, oh, the Hind hasn't said anything yet, which allows Rune to finally like breathe for a sec. But then he gets a knock on the door. And he opens the door to find Queen Hypaxia there.
Can we just, for a hot second? Okay, so we're writing these notes, right? And Kat and I write these notes on a Google Doc. Okay? So oftentimes we can see each other even though we're not in the same place. And like sometimes we'll send each other like little messages on the Google Doc, whatever. So this next part has Hypaxia's name like a lot. And every time I was spelling her name, I would spell it hypoxia.
I can still see it.
Yeah, like I didn't get so I don't know why I kept like hypoxia, and that's like low oxygen, right?
Yeah, like oxygen deficiency.
Yeah, like oxygen depletion or whatever the fuck. So it's like I literally kept going like hypoxia did this, and Kat was like, what are you typing?
I actually think that like it autocorrects to that though, to be fair.
Oh,
because it was happening a couple times to me.
Okay, so it's not just me.
No.
Okay, great.
But I would make like the conscious effort to like go back and fix it.
Oh, I didn't. I left it hypoxia like literally everywhere. So yeah, you just saw Hypaxia, and now we're with Therion. We got a little bit of a flip.
And then we're with the River Queen.
I don't give a fuck.
I hate all these scenes.
I
so
don't
useless.
give a fuck about the River Queen. I literally don't care. But he's like giving her a report, obviously, about like what went down and like whatever. And he tells her about like the 6 ships that like the Ocean Queen has and blah, blah, blah. And like the River Queen's like pissed. She's like, oh my God, my sister didn't tell me. Like maybe she's like wanting to take over, like blah, blah, blah. And he's like, I don't know, dude, like what do you want from me kind of thing. And then the River Queen kind of like sends him off, and she's like, keep looking for Emil, go away basically. And when Therion gets to the surface, Hunt is there and meets up with him, and he's like, we have to talk. We're back with Rune now, and he's just like staring at Hypaxia, and she came on a broom, like a literal broom, like girly like rode on a broom, and then she turns her broom into a brooch, and Rune is like, oh my God, that's so cool. And I was like, oh my God, that's so cool.
It's just it's a point to like how interesting a mixture of characters this book has. Like you have a witch with like a broom with all these high fae people with all these magical powers. Like it's just so,
I don't know. Yeah, it was just so
interesting
funny.
mix. It's like you got Harry Potter all of a sudden in here now.
I know, like a literal
like
broom.
You have Hermione. Like you have
no.
It's and like Bewitched kind of vibes.
No, I love
with a broomstick.
And like I think Rune. Oh, sorry guys, I had to yawn. I think Rune is also kind of like, she's very beautiful. Yes. Like he's always taken aback by her beauty. Like despite the fact that, you know, he doesn't really want to marry her, he's still like, I must admit, like she's a beautiful woman. I can appreciate that. Rune introduces his friends and their guests. So like obviously she sees the sprites and like the dragon shifter, and suddenly Rune is very aware of how like Mojo Jojo Casa, their house, really is. He's like, oh fuck, like this is like the literal queen of the witches,
and their house is a frat
and
house.
Like our house is a literal fucking frat. Like there's like weed in the corner. Like he's telling Ethan, he's like mind to mind, he's like, get the mirth root out of here. Like Ethan goes to grab it, he's like, not now, she's looking. Like it's really funny. Like all these boys are like scrambling, they have like no idea what to do. Hypaxia asks to speak to Rune alone, and she wants to ask him a favor, and the favor is when she comes to Lunathion in a couple of weeks for like the mating celebration for Ephraim and Celestina, she wants an escort from him, basically to protect her from her own coven, who apparently don't like her all that much. And the kind of backstory is like her mother had raised her in isolation, and like her mother is a necromancer, I believe, from her side of the family line, and she, instead of getting her like traditional tutors and whatever, she raised spirits to tutor Hypaxia, and her mother like basically like took her away from like the witches and stuff, and like this whole situation with like the necromancer and like bringing back the dead like really unnerves the other witches, and she thinks that the witches would rather replace her with her sister, and mind you, her sister is like Lydia, like the Hind, and they would replace her with Lydia and instate Lydia as like a figurehead queen, while her late mother's general would actually be the one ruling, because at the end of the day, the witches would probably be more comfortable with a half shifter than a half necromancer. So they're like, she's like very worried about the state of like her coven essentially, and they don't really like her, and she doesn't really know them, to be honest. Rune agrees to give her the escort. Obviously, he's like, yeah, no problem, for sure. And he assigns like Ethan to her. He's like, great, I know just the man for the job. Back with Therion and Hunt, Hunt is telling him about a Death Stalker. So it's this like lethal assassin demon that was spotted near like Nenna, this like place.
And I was like, they kept mentioning this place, but I don't remember where this is.
Bro, neither did I.
And I was looking at like the map, and I was trying to find it on like the map at the beginning, but the map is only of Crescent City, so I have no idea where this place is.
I think that Nenna is probably more important to like the Blue Court, so that's why Hunt mentioned it.
Sure, I don't know where it is.
That's what I think, because
whenever there's a name of a place,
he was like, oh yeah, like there was a Death Stalker noted. I just wanted to make sure the Blue Court is aware. And Therion is like, okay, thanks for telling me, but like, what do you really want? Like this was clearly like a cover up to just like talk to me about something else. And then this is when Hunt confesses that he knows where Emil is. Emil is safe, and he won't tell Therion like where. And Therion should call off like his search. He's like, listen, you should just come up with, you know, an excuse to the River Queen and make it work. But Emil is now off limits. We're done. Hunt confirms that Emil has no powers, and Hunt is getting like really intense about it. Like he's like very adamant, and Therion deduces that like the only reason that Hunt would get this intense over the kid is if Bryce also knew where the kid was. Therion is like, fuck me, the River Queen is going to be like so pissed, but he decides to like milk the experience, because obviously the second that he tells the River Queen that Emil is a no-go, she's going to make him go beneath again, and he doesn't really want to do that. So he wants to keep staying above, so he's going to like draw out this situation and essentially like keep coming up with reasons why he can't find Emil until he eventually like has to tell her. So that's kind of his plan right now.
So now we switch to Ethan, and Ethan asks Hypaxia that if in exchange for him guarding her, could she try to like contact his brother, since she's a necromancer. Rune asks her if she knows like what really happens to people in the bone quarter, and she confirms that she's already aware of like the second light. She's like, well, the dead don't really have any reason to lie, so I already know. They tell her that Ethan just wants to know what happened to Connor and maybe even warn him about the second light, even though it will be to no avail. And she tells him that there is a ritual that she can perform, but it would have to be on like the autumnal equinox.
Yeah, because I think the veil is like
the veil
really
is
thin.
like between realms is thinnest for whatever reason. I don't know. Rune then mentions if Apaxia is cool with the dragon also guarding her, because he needs like a royal official reason to commandeer someone else's like slave. And obviously like protecting his fiance, who also happens to be a queen, is pretty important, like as important as it gets. Yeah. So she's like, yeah, sure, like why not? Now we switch to Bryce, who has been hiding at work to avoid the confrontation that she knows is waiting for her at home with Hunt, since they're both a little bit pissed off at each other. But once she finally leaves work after it closes, she finds Hunt waiting for her outside.
He's like, no.
He tells her that he needs to look something up in the archives, but she's like, well, the archives are closed. To which he replies saying that he didn't think that she would hide inside until closing, but he knows that she can sweet talk her way in. Turns out she doesn't have to do any sweet talking, because since she works there, she is allowed in the archives.
She just wanted to make him sweat a little bit.
Yeah, she's like, she's allowed in the archives after hours, no problem. With her little, like badge, work badge. So Hunt wanted to look up some texts on like ancient demons, since the reports from like Celestina show that demons are like roaming around the town, and some of the demons are like the worst of the pit, meaning like for sure hell is definitely up to something.
There's something spooky.
They're up to no good.
Up to no good.
Hunt suspects that if hell's amassing armies, then these demons could be like testing the defenses. But either way, hell would still need to find a way to like open like the northern rift entirely. But that could also be where hell wants Bryce to come in, since she still has the horn in her back.
And she could open up the portal, technically, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Bryce then starts playing footsie with Hunt to distract him. He does ask her if she's heard anything from Fury, and she tells him that, package was delivered, aka Emil, is now with her parents. Hunt tells her that Therion is off the hunt for Emil now, after telling Therion, the search isn't worth his time. And Bryce is still distracting Hunt with her feet. And then they decide to go check out, wink, wink, nudge, 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 an important book in the stacks. So they're, hanging out in the stacks.
They're wandering
deep into the stacks so that, no cameras can pick them up or whatever.
Right.
Bryce asks if Hunt is still mad at her, and he apologizes for how he reacted earlier, admitting that he understands why she didn't tell him, but that he was still upset that she didn't trust him because, he thought they were a team and that he just needed time to process everything. And she admits that she didn't tell him because she wasn't sure that he'd agree with her that an ordinary human was still worth the risk of helping. And he's like, of course I would agree with you. And she apologizes for not giving him enough credit.
Yeah, that's kind of a mean assumption to make. Like, oh yeah, I didn't think you'd care about some human kids. So, like, I didn't tell you.
Yeah, it's
like
true.
That's crazy.
Hunt still wants to know how she knew that the Viper Queen would be able to find Emil. But Bryce says, like, once Emil's trail was picked up in the marshes that are full of, like, Sobex, she knew that the Viper would be able to find Emil since, she is the queen of snakes and reptilian creatures.
Right. So she's got an in there.
Yeah. We also find out that there is a local priest that owes, like, Randall a favor, and that is who, like, forged all the documents so that Emil will now be known as Cooper Salago, her half-brother.
Cooper's a dumb name. I'm sorry to people named Cooper.
Like, they could have picked anything. Like, he had a whole chance to pick a brand new name.
Bro, like, his sister
Cooper.
Is like, we've got Bryce, Hunt, Fury, Juniper.
And Cooper.
Therion, Ember, Rune, Cormac. Cooper.
Yeah, well, what other name would you have picked for Emil?
I don't know. Just not that. Like, I guess it's, like, unassuming. I don't know.
Like, it's just a very regular name.
I don't know. I just, like, I wasn't
like, they're really trying to fly under the radar. So they're
I
like,
guess.
Cooper.
They're like, your name is now Max. Like, Cooper is just like kind of a puppy name to me. I don't know why. I'm like, if there's any Coopers listening to this, I'm sorry. I do love you. I just, it's I don't know. Well, it wasn't for me. It wasn't for me.
And they're gonna pretend now that he's her half brother.
Fine.
And this entire time, Bryce had been communicating to her mom all about this via postcards in the mail, and she used a secret code that Randall had taught her to use just in case of emergencies.
Smart.
And Hunt loves how brilliant Bryce is and how she did this, like she figured out how to do this all herself. And then they proceed to have makeup sex in the stacks. But they don't teleport this time, so no teleportation.
Thank goodness.
And honestly, I really did enjoy this sex scene. I'm going to give it a 5.
Samesies.
5 out of 5 spicy pepper rating.
The dirty talk was really good in this scene.
Personally, you know what it is for me? I love a sex scene in like bookshelves. Like
me
a book, like
too.
I love it. Like I don't
Well, that's why you've got all those damaged books. Like that's why you're finding them in the books. Like who knows?
Like at Indigo and stuff?
Yeah.
Like could you, no, that's crazy. That's
wild.
Wild.
Insane. But I do
like, you have to go to a part of the library that has no cameras, you know? But I do love a sex scene in a library.
Yeah.
Like any book that has it. It also reminds me of that scene in that movie, The Atonement, where he has her like she's wearing this beautiful green dress,
the atonement
and
dress.
he has her like pinned up against the bookshelves, and he's just like
ravaging her.
I love that scene.
That scene's
I mean,
really
that's a very sad movie, but I do love that scene.
I do love a good sex scene in the stacks. I think that's so like sexy. It's like hot. It's like, oh, we could get caught in any moment.
I do love scenes like this.
This one was a good one. I enjoyed it.
5 out of 5.
I agree. I thought the dirty talk was really good in this scene too. Like I enjoyed reading it. I was like, oh my god, this is fun. It was good.
We now switch to Rune, who is on the mental bridge again with Daybright, who tells him that she has important information to pass along. She tells him that Pippa is planning something big in retaliation for losing so much ammo in like the mech suit prototype. And Ophion supports her since they believe that the unit that sabotaged the shipment, which is aka like Rune and gang, have gone rogue. So they're planning something against the Scooby Gang.
No. Crazy.
It
had to happen.
They then get into an argument about the last time they met up on the mine bridge when she thought like he was trying to see what she looked like because he got like too close to her. And she tells him that this is war and not some game, and if he's not careful, he'll wind up dead. And then he like shrugs it off. And when she asks how he can be so cavalier about this, he just like replies saying like, well, I'm nobody. Like, it doesn't matter.
Which is not true.
No, but he's having a little bit of an identity crisis because he's thinking about like all of his friends and family and all the sacrifices that they make and how amazing they are. And he's like, I'm of no value to anyone. Like, nobody loves me. Like, I don't know. He's just in
his feels.
He's in his feels. He was in a bad mood.
He was in a bad spot. Well, that's probably because he's like low-key in love with Day.
100%.
And he's like, I just have a big fat crush on her. Like, why doesn't she love me back? Like, what's going on? Like, he's having a moment.
He's having a moment.
Okay. Our little sad prince. Okay. He needs a hug. We're with Bryce now. Bryce is in her office and she's chatting with her mom asking how Cooper is. And luckily he's like adjusting well, and like Randall and Ember are happy to have him. Like, I think they're just really happy to have a kid in the house, so they're really enjoying it. And Bryce's mom is like, you know, like, you should be careful about whatever the fuck's going on. Unfortunately, the Autumn King stops by for a visit. He just like pops in. He's like, hey girl, like, what's up? And he's like, please explain to me why you mated Athalar when you're betrothed. And she's like, because he's my mate. Like, duh. Like,
he's asking her as if she has some choice in the matter of who her mate is.
Because if mates are like fated, then really she had no choice. Like, it was going to happen regardless. The Autumn King explains he wanted her with Cormac because she would be safer in Avalon, because it's like a stronghold that the Asteri can't even like go into without being like invited and shit. Like,
can I make a suggestion?
For sure.
Like, this is just a moment, really. Like, in the book, we get a map of Crescent City.
Correct.
But we don't have a map of anything else.
I want an entire map of the world.
Like, where are any of these other places? Like, I don't know. Where is Avalon? What is it, an island? Like, I don't know. Like, what is that?
No, I would enjoy a more comprehensive map because it does mention a lot of locations quite frequently.
And like, listen, I already have trouble with directions without a map. Like,
Sarah, if you're listening to this, can you please call your map designer?
I need a map of these other cities. Like, you're going to mention all these other names, and I'm not going to know where they are. I don't know where any of them are.
No.
And I forget, in fact, all these places.
Same. I need to know.
Yeah.
Because it's not just like one of those like ACOTAR situations where like they're on an island and then everything's just on the continent.
Yeah, and they'll just refer to it as the continent.
Like, I can live with that. This, I need a more comprehensive map because they mention like so many different places.
However, if in future ACOTAR books they go to the continent,
I'm going to need a map.
And they're hanging out there, causing some shit there, then you need to give me a map of the continent too.
100%.
Like, you can't just...
You can't. I need it.
Yeah.
I need it.
I
agree.
I agree. Visual. I'm a visual learner.
I'm a visual learner, you know?
I gotta see it.
I'm a visual learner when it comes to directions. I need to see a map. The Autumn King and her argue a bit more, and eventually he's like, well, get used to, like, your name being Princess Bryce Dannon because I filed the legal paperwork for you, like, for your name change, since you're using it to, like, throw around your influence. Because remember, she, like, used her name to, like, with the sprites, and she used her name, like, for the ballet with, like, Juniper. So he's like, okay, fine, like, you don't want to be controlled, you don't want to whatever, you don't want to use your name, well, it's too late because you already, like, are putting this, like, princess shit, throwing it around. It's official now, bitch. Bryce is furious because she doesn't want to be, like, associated with her dad in that way. But her dad is like, I don't give a fuck. You use the title. Now you have to live with it. Like, you made your bed, sleep in it kind of vibe. And you have to maintain appearances with Cormac for as long as I commanded, because now she's, like, really an official, like, member, I guess, of, like, the Fae royal family or whatever. Before he leaves, he catches a glimpse of, like, the numbers letter sequence from Sophie's arm, and, like, Bryce just, like, throws caution to the wind, and she's like, do you know it? And, like, all he says is, like, he tells her to, like, be careful, and is like, I know what you're searching for because I've been doing the same. And Bryce is like, oh, and, like, what is that? And he goes, the truth. What the fuck does he know?
Does he know?
Does he know?
Does he know the truth? And if he does know the truth, which I know the truth now because I read the book before, though, when I was at this point, I didn't know what that meant. But now I know. If he knows.
Why doesn't he do something about it or say something?
Like, technically, if he knows the truth, then he knows what a world looks like where technically he's basically way more powerful. You know what I mean?
And does it not
sound appealing to him?
Exactly. He clearly is going to have a bigger part to play.
For sure.
If this is, like, you know what they know that he knows, whatever. Yeah. So he leaves. So later at dance class, Bryce goes and Juniper doesn't show up, and everyone is, like, whispering behind Bryce's back. They're like, psst, 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 psst. Like, oh my god, I can't believe she did that. Like, blah, 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 blah. Like, they're all being really mean. So Bryce decides to leave early, and she goes to sit in a park. And she thinks about this package she received earlier with, like, all the documents for her new name, with, like, a credit card. She's really upset about it.
Well, it's her identity. Like, her identity
I know,
is
but
Bryce Quinlan,
you know what?
And now she's going to be...
You know what makes me feel better when I'm upset? Shopping.
You know what?
Spend his money.
You have your dad's money now. Go ahead and spend it.
Oh my god, I'd be like...
Bank, like, just spend it all.
I
Leave
would
nothing
literally...
left.
It would be...
Empty his coffers.
No, literally. I would, like, maliciously comply and be like, okay, fine, you want me to be a princess? Well, I need an entirely new wardrobe.
Well, so now, technically, she's Bryce Dannon.
Yes, she's Bryce Adelaide Dannon. That's what her new name is, legally. Obviously, she still thinks of herself as Quinlan.
Yes.
But legally, she is Bryce Dannon. And I would be swiping that fucking card, like Christian, Fendi, Dior, like, I want Prada. Like, I would be like, well, I need a wardrobe fit for a princess if I'm going to represent you on the world stage, you know? But honestly, deep down, she's just mad and ashamed, and she doesn't know how to tell her mom and Randall. Like, that's really what's eating her up inside, right? Like, it's her entire identity, and I get that. She wants to talk to someone, but she specifically wants to talk to, like, a girlfriend, basically. But, like, Danica's dead. Fury's busy. Juniper hates her, so she's like, what the fuck, who am I going to talk to? So she decides to call Hypaxia.
You know who I thought she was going to call, though, actually?
Who?
I thought she was going to call Celestina.
Ooh, yeah, because they had that conversation.
They had that conversation. She was like, well, if you ever need any girl talk,
yeah.
give me a call. So I thought she was going to call Celestina, which I think that would have been a mistake. So it's
for
better
sure.
Who she calls, really.
Me too. And I think that, like, I really like Hypaxia. I thoroughly enjoy her involvement in this book.
Yes.
I love her as a character. I just love her addition. So I'm happy to get any scene with Hypaxia, really. So Hypaxia does show up, and she shows up with Ethan, who's like sitting like a ways away, like he's doing that like, you know, bodyguard situation. And Bryce thanks her for freeing Hunt, because I guess they like never really had like a solid conversation about it since like the situation at the summit or whatever.
See, this is something that I don't remember because I don't really remember much of the first book.
Well, Hypaxia was the one who removed his slave tattoos.
Right, so she can do it again, right?
In theory, I guess. I don't know.
Whoever thought, you know?
So she thanks him and whatever, and Hypaxia is like, Hypoxia? Oh my god, see? Because it was...
Well, you haven't changed them all. In fact, it says hypoxia so many times here.
Oh my god, stop. Okay. Hypaxia then is like, oh my god, congratulations. I smell that you made it. Again with the fucking smell.
Like, and also, is that not a rude thing to say to someone in this Fae world? Okay. Or is that, like, considered a compliment?
Because here's my thing. Clearly, if you can smell life events on a person, nothing is ever a surprise. Because, like, when you're pregnant, I'm sure people are going to be going around and being like, oh my god, congratulations, you're having a baby. Like,
well, didn't that actually happen in Akasif, where they were like trying to
they had to
shield her scent because like, they could technically smell that she's pregnant?
So it's like you can't hide shit in these worlds, basically.
No secrets.
Bryce tells her about her like new official title, and Hypaxia is like, I'm so sorry, like I know how it feels to be kind of like controlled by a title. Bryce asks her if she has any idea of how to get out of this, and Hypaxia suggests that she manages her father rather than trying to like find like a solid way out of it. Hypaxia talks a little bit about like who she considers family, mainly the ghosts. Like she's like, honestly, the ghosts were my family. But she doesn't consider her sister family. And we find out that her sister, Lydia the Hind, was sent to live with her father, like Lydia's father, at the age of 3 because she had no witch gifts. So I guess the like agreement was whenever her gifts manifest, whoever's side manifested, that's who she would stay with. So since she developed shifter gifts, she went to go stay with her dad. And Hypaxia hasn't even met her yet because I think Hypaxia was born after, I believe. Mm-hmm. I think Lydia's older. So she's never met her and is actually planning on meeting her while she is in the city. Back to Bryce's issues, Hypaxia thinks the only people who can really help are the Asteri. Bryce says that would probably upset Hunt to get the Asteri involved and whatever. But Hypaxia is like, oh my god, like, but isn't he going to be pleased considering you're mated and he's now a prince? And Bryce is like, oh my god, he's gonna like literally hate that even more. And she's kind of like laughing a little hysterically at this point. Like girlie's like going through it. They decide to take a little walk, and Ethan is like following along, like respectful distance behind. And Hypaxia is like, oh, so Rune told you about my like coven issue kind of thing. And then Hypaxia confesses that she was with someone, but it is not possible anymore. And even if Hypaxia wanted to continue, that other person didn't. And this causes Bryce to feel like sorry for her brother. But Hypaxia is like, like neither of us really wanted to marry each other. Like, no big deal. Don't worry about it. But Bryce thinks that they might grow to like each other because she's like, you know what? You seem like a good person. My brother's a good person. You guys are both attractive. Like maybe it'll all work out in the end. Hypaxia reveals that the engagement to Rune was meant to prevent her mother's coven from gaining more powers, which kind of confuses Bryce because she's like, I don't understand, like, why would that be the case? Apparently the witches are not as strong as before, but this coven in specific doesn't want to discover why the witches are losing power. They're content with it, and they only want to become more subservient to the Asteri, which Hypaxia does not like in the slightest. She also reveals that her tutors predated the Asteri's arrival. I think it's like called Parthos. I think. When the land was called Parthos and they were like people, like just humans living
like
on it.
Before the Asteri had conquered it.
So all of her tutors were actually like from the time when like just regular humans were around the land kind of thing. Yeah. She also knows about the zones that the Asteri created to conquer death, and she did not let her mother go to one when her mother passed. So I think she did this like ritual basically.
Yeah, she prevented her mom from like being turned into second light.
Yeah, like she didn't let her mom's spirit like go to the bone quarter, for example. Bryce asks her why she doesn't tell everyone and just say something, but Hypaxia is like, who would believe me anyways, and who knows what the Asteri would do to me or like my kind if like this got out. The convo kind of like winds down. Both women are like thanking each other and like, you know, thanks so much, blah, blah, blah. But their comfy, cozy chat gets interrupted by a demon who clamps down onto Ethan's throat. This was like so dramatic. I was like, what the absolute
like,
fuck is
just
going
a demon
on?
just comes out of nowhere.
And just like chomps.
Bryce is like scrambling away from the demon that literally just ripped out Ethan's throat. But then another demon shows up, and now the demons are like backing Hypaxia and Bryce into a corner. Then Bryce asks Hypaxia if she can like shoot her power into her since she needs a charge like a fucking battery.
No, literally, she's like literally battery. She's like, I need you to hit me.
Yeah, hit
So
me with all you got.
Exactly.
Hypaxia is confused but does what Bryce asks, and Bryce is able to teleport to Ethan's side, grabbing his gun and fires at the closest demon, killing it. The second demon then charges at Bryce but starts dodging the bullets. Bryce teleports away again, but the demon quickly changes course to chase her. Meanwhile, Hypaxia is flying above Bryce on her broomstick, like a la like Bewitched style, you know? Bryce keeps teleporting closer to Hypaxia, and the demon keeps like following until it's close enough to Hypaxia, who like from above plunges a dagger into the demon, managing to kill it. Hypaxia then goes to help Ethan since she's a medwitch, and then Isaiah and Hunt finally arrive. Hunt recognizes the demons are Deathstalkers, which are like the personal pets of the Prince of Hell.
Those like those were the ones that they were seeing near Nana.
Yeah.
Wherever that is.
Hypaxia manages to heal Ethan, and they take him to the witch's embassy so Hypaxia can tend to him until he's conscious.
Yeah, she's like, don't worry, I got this, guys.
And then once alone, Bryce tells Hunt like the full story of how she teleported in order to be able to kill the Deathstalkers. Rune, Declan, and Flynn are also there to see how Ethan is doing, and they confirm that the dragon basically ditched Ethan and Bryce while they were being attacked and is now nowhere to be found.
Crazy.
Bryce asks Hunt if he thinks that the demons were like those appetizers the Prince of the Pit threatened to send to them to test their powers, and Hunt is like, oh, like 1000%. Like, this was just the beginning.
There's more to come.
Yes. Rune suggests a theory that maybe the Coven summoned the demons to try to kill Hypaxia, but I think they're more buying the theory that it was the Prince of the Pit. Hunt and Rune agree to team up the third and the Ox to set up watches around like Bryce's apartment and like the witch's embassy to like, you know, watch Hypaxia and Bryce, keep them safe from demons. Rune tells Bryce that before he got her call, he was actually talking to their father, who happened to mention to Rune the wonderful news that Bryce has accepted her position as princess. And since Hunt is her mate, that makes him son-in-law to the Audub king. And Hunt is confused, and Bryce is like, surprise?
Surprise?
Surprise, surprise.
Because he's a prince now, right?
Yes.
He's technically Prince Hunt.
Yes, technically.
That's crazy. Does he get to wear a crown?
I don't know.
That'd be so fun.
Like, I mean, I guess he's technically like
Prince consort type
yes,
vibe.
but also they're mates.
He's prince by marriage.
But like they're not married yet.
No, but technically mating is above marriage to some.
Right, but do they have to do some kind of mating ceremony for it to be like
do we get a wedding?
Do
we get a royal wedding?
I feel like we're not going to.
I feel like probably not.
Well, because you know, Sarah J. Maas has said it before. She doesn't like writing weddings because she thinks they're so cheesy.
I want it. Like
she actually had written
Reese and
Favor's wedding, but then she cut it out because she thought it was cheesy. And in fact, even when it came to Akasif, you didn't really get the wedding.
It was alluded to that they were planning the ceremony, but you never see it.
No, at the end you do. It's just like it's over, like it already happened.
No, I thought they were planning the ceremony at the end.
No, I'm pretty sure it happens.
Really?
I'm pretty sure it ends with like it happening.
No, I think that I
swear to God, Cass, it happens.
I swear it hasn't happened.
No, it happens.
No.
Yes, it does. 100%. It happens.
I'm so timed. Okay, we're gonna look it up after.
I swear. Why am I vividly remembering some scene
I'm vividly remembering
Cassian and Nesta like being at their party, but like it's already happened. Am I not? Am I making this up?
No, yes.
No, okay, we're going to grab the book right after.
No, that scene does not exist.
I swear it does.
What do you think the last chapter of Akasif is?
Not necessarily that, but like I'm pretty sure that happens.
Did you dream this? The last scene of the book is when the sisters are outside with Nyx and they bring him to the grandfather's grave. And they're all talking, and one of the things... I
swear they like mention that it already happened. This mating ceremony.
No. I think you read a fanfic.
I did not. I swear it happened.
We're going to look this up.
Why am I so convinced? Like, okay, I'm not saying like there's a scene.
But you think that the mating ceremony already happened?
Yes.
I don't think so.
I'm pretty sure they make a comment about it already happening.
Oh, maybe. I don't know. I don't think so. Now I'm doubting myself. We're going to grab the book after this.
I'm convinced that I'm right anyways.
And
you're convinced you're right, so who knows?
We'll see. So now we're with Ethan. He's finally waking up and Hypaxia is watching over him. And, you know, she kind of just has to fill him in. So she's like, you know, everyone's all right, but Ariadne fled and no one knows where she is. Ethan is really beating himself up over like fucking up this assignment. He's like, I can't believe this happened. Hypaxia obviously is telling him like, it's not your fault. The demon is extremely deadly. Like there's nothing you kind of could have done. Like, you know, he came out of nowhere. Ethan changes the subject to Connor, wanting to confirm if Hypaxia can really contact him. She confirms, and Ethan asks her to do the same thing she did for her mom for Connor. So he was obviously eavesdropping. So he heard that she didn't let her mom go and be second light in the bone quarter, and he wants that done for Connor as well. Hypaxia promises to do her best. Like she's like, listen, I don't know if it's gonna work out. We'll try it. Ethan also asks her for help with the wolf mystic, and Hypaxia calls him like a good man, but says,
"A good man, Savannah."
He's a good man, Savannah. That's such a good sound. And yeah, but obviously, like Hypaxia is like, you know what? There might not be much that I can do for the mystic beyond like what your other royal friends can do at this point. So just like, you know, try it out with one of them kind of thing. Declan and Flynn and Therion come to visit him to make sure he's all right and double check when he can come home. Hypaxia says he can go home tomorrow, and she leaves with Therion after, like, she gives, like, Ethan the day off tomorrow. She's like, don't worry, have the day off, rest. Left alone with Declan and Flynn, Ethan is really thankful to have friends. He's like, great, like, love this so much. This is so cute. With Rune and Bryce now, they're waiting for Hunt to finish like a briefing with the 33rd, and Bryce decides to play the part of princess if that's what her dad like really wants. She's like, you know what? Fine. If he wants a princess, I'm going to give him a fucking princess. Now we're back with Hypaxia. And she's complaining to Therion about the Dreadwolves in the city. And turns out that Hypaxia and Therion are kind of friends, and apparently like they shared their issues about their love lives at the summit. I don't know. I think they went to like a spa together is what I gathered.
This is interesting to me because like this was a friendship I didn't see coming.
Me neither, but I kind of love it.
But also at this point, I was kind of like, wait, are they into each other?
I never got that vibe from them.
See, but at this moment, I was kind of like...
See, I never got that vibe. And to be fair, I don't get that vibe because I think that Therion is just like a big flirt.
Maybe. He's just like that with everyone.
Exactly.
But like, I don't know. I just thought it was so weird that... You know,
their friendship came out of nowhere.
Yeah, it just came out of nowhere to me. So I was like,
yeah, like literally, it was explained that they were at the summit together, and it seems like they went to this like pool thing, like a spa type vibe, and they were the only ones there, and they clearly were like, you know, down bad, and they just kind of shared their problems with each other, so they forged this like friendship. They kind of lament about, you know, they're both stuck in their situations, they're very duty bound, blah blah blah, and I think like Mordok and like the Hammer walk down the street, and Hypaxia is just like upset about the amount of like shitty people and like shitty things that are in the city currently. Eventually Therion tells Hypaxia to get some rest and to like take care of herself, and they kind of like part ways. Therion leaves and he ends up at Rune's place asking if they have space for one more roommate.
And like, Loki, how big is this house? Like, is this massive frat house? Because like you have right now you have Rune, Flynn, Declan, Ethan, plus the 3 little fire sprites. And now Therion? There's a lot of people.
It's 8 people.
That's a lot.
I mean, I would imagine that fire sprites don't really count because they're teeny tiny.
Yeah.
Not that they don't count. Like, I love them, but they're small.
They don't need that much space.
So there's really like 5 adult men.
That's a lot.
That is a lot. But I kind of picture this as literally a frat house.
Must be.
Like a big ass house that was just
like it has sparse furniture.
Yeah, it's got like...
None of the beds in the rooms have any kind of headboard.
No.
They're just mattresses on floors.
It's like a futon. Yeah. Like, the fridge is filled with, like, old pizza boxes and beer. Like,
it's gross.
It's
gross
disgusting. It's not cute. Like, have you ever seen those, like, horror videos on TikTok where, like, girls are going into, like, boys' bathrooms and there's just, like, a fucking, like, bar of soap and, like, that's it? Disgusting. It's sparse, you know?
Disgusting.
Exactly. But that's where we leave you. So Therion is looking for a new living situation, and that is where we leave you on this part. Yeah. Any thoughts?
No, I've already mentioned all my thoughts.
I know, kind of at the beginning, but we're really, like, gearing up now. This is when it starts to get good.
For sure.
And, like, my favorite part of this personal part of the book is that we're getting a lot more Hypaxia, and I really like her. And this kind of continues. Like, we do get quite a bit more of Hypaxia, and I really like that. And it seems like for as many things as we solve, we create new problems. Because now...
So true. Like, there's, like, Emil, the whole Emil situation's done, but now...
Ariadne's gone, for example. Like, that I feel like is a big problem. Now we've got the Viper Queen's favor. Like, it's all this stuff that's just, like, every time we, like, tie a bow on something, like, something new comes up. So clearly there's still a lot of, like, book left. And, like, I mean, I'll be transparent. Like, we don't really solve half this shit by the end of the book.
No. So many loose ends.
Exactly.
So many cliffhangers.
Exactly. And what are we doing next week?
Next week we're taking a break from House of Sky and Breath. And we're actually doing our first episode on Iron Flame. So that's going to be fun.
Yes.
Talk about all of our thoughts.
On the first half-ish of the book.
Yes.
I think we're going to save theories for the second episode. So first one is more like thoughts recap.
Yes.
And then the second one we'll get more into theories. But
that will be fun to discuss.
Yeah, I'm so excited. But all the information is down in the description below, no matter where you're listening or watching. Please consider leaving us, like, a review, a like, a comment, anything really. Message us on Instagram. We're pretty active on there. We like chatting with you guys. It's been really fun, especially with Iron Flame. Like, I feel like we've just been, like, screaming in the DMs with some people over the book. So that's been really exciting. Thank you so much for listening. We love you.
Yeah. So thanks for listening to Two Book Bitches.
Bye.